Leaning upon his staff with eyes closed, Horlock Doomshaper reached with his mind to the dire trolls along the length of the half-constructed wall. They did not wish to be here. Their small minds churlishly pulled against his own, focusing instead on the rumbling on their bellies. They wanted to rend and kill, to eat. He clamped down on their petulance and reached with their gigantic hands as if they were his own, seizing heavy stones and hauling them into place. Dozens of kin scrambled along the wall with hammers and chisels, setting the stones in place as battlements came into being. A throat cleared behind him, but he already knew she was there. He had ignored two such attempts to draw his attention. His eyes still closed, he snapped, "What, Calandra? Are ye that eager to see the stoneworkers of Clan Sokash devoured by frenzied dire trolls?" Calandra said, "I have no fear of that. Keeping them in line while having a conversation with a visitor is no difficulty for one such as you." There was no obvious sarcasm in her tone, but Doomshaper knew she was taunting him. There was something in her manner that reminded him of his eldest daughter. With a heavy sigh, he turned, opening his eyes to glare balefully at the two individuals now standing before him, Calandra's frame entirely eclipsing the enigmatic figure standing next to her. For the first time, he focused on this visitor, realizing with a frown that he had not even sensed the man's approach. He was scrawny, possibly human, with a stained robe hanging loosely from his sharp bones. He was most notable for an extremely long beard that nearly reached the ground. The beard covered most of his face, the rest covered in a hood. There was something odd about him, and not simply his appearance. No, not human, Doomshaper decided. An elf, one more weathered, and aged, and generally howled than Doomshaper had ever seen before. He looked like someone who had been a prisoner for centuries and was just let out of his dungeon into the sun. Slung across his back by a leather strap was a sizable scroll case, similar in proportion to some of the largest ones he himself possessed. The ancient elf was bowed by his burden, bending forward, his frame barely able to sustain the weight. "Who is this?" Doomshaper asked. The eyes peering at him from under the hood seemed almost empty, devoid of the vital spark of life. And if the visitor were capable of mustering any arcane power, Doomshaper could barely sense it. It was almost as though he were a walking absence. "I have no name worthy of saying aloud," the elf said in perfect Mogul Thruel, as if he had been born to the tongue. "I am simply a hermit." Calandra interjected, "I've been having a number of disturbing divinations of late, in every form. Cards, thrown the bones, dice casting, all doom and gloom. It's been puzzling me, but this hermit came to me, and he spoke of things that he should not know. I think he has the gift of foresight." "Divinations are always unreliable," Doomshaper said, though he gave the elf another appraising look.
Why have you come to me?
I had little choice in the matter, the hermit said morosely. I come to speak of a maelstrom, a tide of unending darkness about to crack its way into the world. Locusts will descend on the greatest city of man, and in that hour, the very world will stand on the precipice of ruin. This first gate is the keystone, and its opening will unlock a dozen more. The claiming is at hand.
You try my patience,
Doomshaper growled at him.
Why must every self-titled prophet babble in riddles? Speak plainly, or not at all.
The Iosin looked back at him with a pained expression. Calandra put her hands on her waist and said, You've been known to be mysterious from time to time yourself. Visions aren't always easy to explain. You've had your fair share. Meanwhile, the hermit was muttering under his breath.
The claiming will seize 2 souls in 3. The power the immortal parasites will reap from this is beyond measuring. Our reality will bend under the weight of their footsteps. They are knocking at the door, and it is about to open. We are all betrayed.
Doomshaper kept his attention focused on Calandra.
What is your interpretation of both his words and your own auguries? You think this isn't just nonsense?
He's likely a bit crazy, Calandra admitted. But I do think something is happening. Talk of gates and shadows could be a Crixian plot, perhaps involving Banes, but I think we're looking at something larger. He's spoken of souls being claimed. I do not know a great deal about infernals, as they never had much trouble to our people, but that would be my guess. He suggests Caspia as the place of imminent threat. Some gateway is opening there, bringing doom to its inhabitants.
Caspia, and its people doomed.
Doomshaper considered this and uttered a dark chuckle under his breath.
Good. Good riddance to them all.
Calandra frowned. We've never had to deal with infernals. I cannot say I know much about them, but everything I heard about them is bad. They are a threat to be taken seriously. The shaman of the Gnarls glared at both Calandra and the hermit, feeling distinctly as though they were seeking to manipulate him, as though he would be frightened by vague prophecies. He said,
There is a reason we've never had to deal with them. They are a human problem, not one that troubles the kin.
This is far more than a human problem, the hermit said with a great deal of clarity. The locusts will come to the mountains and the forest when the farmlands of man are consumed. They seek souls of all. You could act now to prevent this first opening of the way. His tone, without any emphasis and devoid of energy, suggested he didn't entirely believe it. Doomshaper stepped closer to the frail elf, who stood placidly as if unaware or uncaring that the Trollkin elder could annihilate him with a single blow of his staff.
And what would you have us do? March an army to Caspia to save the humans from themselves? How would they welcome us at their walled gates, even if we were inclined to do this favor? They would answer us with rifles and cannons. Why did you come here instead of going to them, if your forewarnings are needed? What game are you playing, hermit?
It is no game. I go many places, speak to all who will listen. What you do is your choice. I have no choice for myself. I play the role that is set out for me, as we all do. I warn, you fail to listen. Darkness encompasses us all.
I have heard enough,
Doomshaper snarled. To Calandra he said,
As he is your guest, I will leave it to you to see him off.
Were it not for ancient guest courtesies, he might have handed the hermit to one of his hungry dire trolls. She looked abashed as she took a hold of the hermit's elbow and led him away. Doomshaper knew she had brought him with the best of intentions. Though a talented augur, she put too much faith in her cards. The future was always in flux. Regardless of fell omens, Doomshaper did not intend to take credit or blame for any looming disaster facing Caspia. It was not his concern. He struggled enough to protect his own kin of the Gnarls, as well as other regions, with Ironhide and his closest allies so far away. The hermit did not appear bothered by the send-off. He said, "I will return to you anon, when the locusts descend. You may welcome me then."